See, when I bought the frame,
Alright, I'm just leaving my house.
Came with it better, so I kept it.
And I'm gonna check something out that.
Oh, really, boy? This is a great idea for
me
people
laugh.
with ugly families, though, boy. I gotta tell you, my sister Lucinda came over last week, spots me no picture. She said, who's that? I said, that's you, dear. Oh, just joking, boy. I ran into Father Parish yesterday. He was telling me about this fella Lorenzo who went to confession on Sunday. He says, bless me, Father, for I have sinned. I ain't been to confession for 29 years. Father says, 29 years is a bit long, boy. Where were you? Lorenzo says, well, Father, I'm an acrobat with the circus, and moving from town to town every day makes it real hard to get to church, And in fact, Father, while we're on the subject, I might tell you, I'm a very good acrobat. Let me show you. Well, he did 2 somersaults out of the confession box, 3 handstands up the center aisle of the church, 4 backflips onto the high altar, and 6 backward somersaults back in the confession box, Well, there was these 3 old ladies outside the confession box waiting to go in, Mrs. McNeil turned to her friend and she said, my dear heavens, if that's the sort of penance he's handing out today, I'm going straight home and put me slacks on here. Father told me that one down at the bowling alley the other night. He had 300.
Alright, so here we are at the bottom of the hill. And there's our Mason Lodge with the blue roof. You will see in a second what chapter it is. Oh, Vienna 237 E3. What is that? 237.
They'd be a right good influence on Polly because they got rosary beads and they praise all the time, So
anyway, that's not the interesting part. I'm just gonna back up here. It's benefit of living in a small town. Alright, so I drive past this every day.
You wouldn't believe what young Cecil Stark did last week, bud. He went into
I don't know what to think.
variety out home and he stole a Mars bar.
Pretty interesting.
He got clean away with it, but then guess what he done? He called Crime Stoppers, turned himself in, he got a $1,000 reward, bud. Sometimes you wonder why that stuff happens, And every time stuff happens that I wonder about,
If you can explain what, why you would paint it yellow.
And in the same material they make the black box out of. They always seem to find that in one piece. Or why do they call it rush hour when your car just sits there, Or why is it that service stations leave the cash register area open, but they lock up the washrooms? And like your Fred Flintstone news that large order of ribs is going to tip over his car, why did he get them at the end of every show?
Why would you paint it that color?
And why is it that people in the pop commercials on TVs always having too much fun? Where did they get all that enthusiasm, They're drinking pop, they're laughing,
I'm not sure. Anyway. So there you go.
Everywhere and everybody's happy, And I'm sitting on the couch watching TV, drinking the same exact pop. Like I'm thinking, maybe I'm putting too much ice in mine or something. I'm not getting the same effect that it is mine. But my number one why of all time is if a bride wears white because it's the happiest day of her life, why does the groom wear black? Never know, why. I remember my wedding day. It was a Friday. I had to work, So I ducked out to get a haircut, Well, didn't the boss catch me sneaking back in, He says, since when do you get your hair cut on company time? I says, well, I grew it on company time, boy. The boss said it didn't all grow on company time. I said, well, I didn't get it all cut, boy. Now, talking about work, boy, I done some after-dinner talking at Dalhousie's University last night, eh? And I tell you, them university guys can be some snotty. I got a bit lost, eh? So I was standing out in front of this big building, eh? I asked this fella, I says, can you tell me if this is Dalhousie University I'm looking at? He says, you are probably unaware, sir, that you have ended your sentence with a preposition. You may wish to rephrase your question, sir. Well. I says, can you tell me if Dalhousie University is what I'm looking at, you jerk? I tell you, on the way home from Halifax last night, I spotted this little shack on the side of the road, and it said, lobster tails, 50 cents. Well, I couldn't get the car over fast enough, eh? I runned in, I put 50 cents on the counter. This old guy, like, is behind the counter, eh? I says, give me a lobster tail, buddy. He says, well, once upon a time, there was these two lobsters. Oh, listen. Here's a true tale, boy, about Isabel McDonald, old lady out our way, 88 years old she is, and a real darling too. She goes into the drugstore out home and says to the drug guy, she says, I wants the pill. He says, in the name of good heavens, Mrs. McDonald, what would you want the pill for? You're 88 years old. She says, I wants the pill, I want it. All right, he says, I'll give it to you. She says, I want it mashed up. Mash it up for me, please. He says, you don't need to mash it up, dear. You just swallow it down with a glass of water. Well, she says, I want it mashed up. I want it mashed up, please. All right, calm yourself. I'll mash it up for you, dear. So he goes and gets the pill for her, mashes it all up and gives it to her, eh? She puts it in her hand. The drug guy says, Mrs. McDonald, you don't sniff it up your nose, dear. Oh, she says, at my age, it's all in my head anyway, dear.